Can we start, Romo? Okay. Okay. So, today, on behalf of the dialogue today, I will start my interview. Before that, I will introduce our very respected Professor Kancha Ilaiah Shepherd. Since Debpriya, who was supposed to introduce both of us, she has some network issues. That is why, on request, I am introducing distinguished Indian political theorist, writer, and Dalit Rights Activist. He is an Ambedkarite, an Anti-Caste activist. He identifies himself as a Sudra intellectual. He is the retired director of the Center for Social Exclusion and Inclusive Policy at Maulana Azad National Urdu University. He is the former head of the Department of Political Science, Osmani University, Hyderabad. Among many of his written works, we would like to remind our audience of the most notable ones, like Why I Am Not a Hindu, a Shudra critique of Hindutva philosophy, culture, and political economy. This is a very famous book, and we read this book. We were very much inspired. New ideas were induced, were invoked. Then there is another book, Political Philosopher, Buddha's Challenge to Brahmanism. God as a Political Philosopher, I think, the name of the book. Buddha's Challenge to Brahmanism. Then Buffalo Nationalism, a critique of spiritual fascism. He will be interviewed by me. I am Professor Pradip Basu. I am the Dean of Humanities and Social Sciences and Professor and former head of the Department of Political Science in Presidency University, Kolkata. I have done my research on Naxalite theory. I have written several books and edited several books on Naxalite politics and post-colonial theory and other subjects. Now, today's topic is Hinduism, Hindutva, and caste. First of all, I thank this dialogue today for organizing this interview, and I give a warm welcome to our very respected Professor Kancha Ilaiah Shepherd, a well-known name all over the world, a very respected person. Welcome to him. I am very grateful that he, in spite of having a very busy schedule, he is here. Professor Ilaiah, first thing I would like to ask you for our audience, about your take on the difference between Hinduism and Hindutva. We will certainly come to the caste question and your understanding, your original contribution to caste politics. But before that, let us have your view about the difference between Hinduism and Hindutva. Kindly start.
Thank you, Professor Pradip Basu, and also the dialogue network that you have, and the Presidency University apps, faculties, students, and also many others who are listening to today's dialogue. Now, before I start, in case there is an internet connection, I will have to take a minute and go to my WhatsApp. So if that happens, but otherwise we'll continue. Now, thank you for choosing this topic at a time when there is a global debate on what is Hinduism, what is Hindutva, and more particularly in the context of recent international conference that people organized from Canada, US, UK on the question of dismantling global Hindutva. And there was a lot of back and forth fight, how there is no difference between Hinduism and Hindutva by the radical Hindutva people. And there are some scholars who have said there is a fundamental difference. Many of them claim that they are Hindus, but they don't belong to the Hindutva ideology. So in this context, and at a time when BJP, the Hindutva force, is ruling the nation, this dialogue is very, very significant. And since the dialogue is initiated by Presidency College, this is a very important thing in my view. Now, as you all know, that the name Hindu is not an Indian scholar or people or religious or name of a person who started a religion came from. It actually came from Al-Biruni, a 10th century, 11th century Arabic scholar who used the word Hindu instead of using Sindh as a river and the people living around. Though Al-Biruni's book Al-Hind is translated into English, and while translating into English, the translator used that concept as if he used it as a religion, but in my view, since I know that book, he has not used in that sense. Now, later on, the Muslim rulers, by the time the colonialists came here, were using the idea of Hindu as a state, Hindustan. But they were also not categorically referring to the religion, which is not Muslim, which is not Christian, which is not Buddhist, as Hinduism. In any one of the Persian or Arabic writings, nor even in Urdu. I don't find any major text with that name, Hinduism as a religion to the people. Now later on, the Orientalist writers, particularly British scholars and Germans, maybe by deriving that who are not Muslims by then, because Muslim population was more than 30% because of Pakistan, Bangladesh, and the present Indian Muslim population. And there was a small Christian population, and there was some amount of Buddhist population in certain pockets. But Islam was the central major religion. So they started using that Alberunian and then the political name Hindu, Hindustan, for a sort of religion. Now they have also not looked at what texts that religion has and who were the leading figures of that religion, whether it is of idol worship or of Dvaita or Advaita, what they call later. But they broadly used it Hindu for the rest of the population. But in my view, they were essentially dealing with the Brahmins, because their interaction as first Sanskrit knowing people, then Persian knowing people, because Persian remained the administrative language for a long time till 1853 or so. And then later on, those who learned English, all of them were Brahmins or what I call the Dvijas, Kayasthas from Bengal, Khatris from Western India, and a section of Baniyas, and very few Kshatriyas were there in that scholarly group. So what they were calling Hindu was the Brahmin practice of spiritual life. Now, that is where usage of Hindu came from. Scholars like Jones and even Hegel used it. But it has no structure of religion and not any major Brahminic writing. At least with the name of Hinduism as a religious book, till perhaps Raja Ram Mohan Roy used it as a form of broad religion or way of life, whatever they called, with idol worship and so on and so forth. So in my view, the first Indian Brahmin who used this Hinduism as his own religion and applying that religious notion to the Brahminic texts like Vedas, Vedangas, Upanishads, Ramayana, Mahabharata, up to Gita, seems to be Raja Ram Mohan Roy. And later Bankim Chandra has used it in a very, very communal tone as against Muslims. Vande Mataram dealt with that, you all know. And but Hinduism as a religious structure, even in the Raja Ram Mohan Roy, or even later, I have not read anything of Tagore as a religious text on Hinduism. Maybe some of you know whether he has any text or any major thing in Bengali, I don't know. So the Bengalis, as part of their Renaissance, used this concept as a religion, linking that to the Brahminic texts. Though Professor Basu was saying that we'll take up caste later, but caste is part of those texts. Rig Veda is the first text to construct the earlier Harappan people who migrated to south in a big way after several calamities, and then the fourth migration of Aryans, and then the wars that took place. And then by 15th and the 14th, 13th century before BC, the Sudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya and Brahmin categories were formed. So if you look at the entire Bengali Renaissance period and the idea of Hindu, all of them were Dvijas, mainly Kayastha Khatri or Vaidyas. I don't know how many writers from there. But majority of them are Brahmins, and some of them could be Kayasthas who owned that Hindu idea. But in my view, it has not become all India concept, and no Shudras. Even in Bengal, I don't think there is any written evidence that Shudra has owned up and wrote some text that I am a Hindu and I belong to this religion. I don't know. But in Telugu region, in Tamil Nadu, in Kerala, even in Western India, even in Hindi region, there is no Shudra whose population constituted by 1881 census 52%. And the Dalits never used that as their religious system. So it was only Brahmins. Who was a non-Brahmin who became so popular and then owned that idea of Hinduism, which Bengali Brahmanism has constructed. The major non-Brahmin who started using it was Mahatma Gandhi, a Baniya who got educated in England and got influenced with Christianity and had some idea about Islam. So by 1909, when he wrote Hind Swaraj, even the Bengali idea of Hinduism is not known. So Gandhi, who was a Baniya, and started making it popular, but with a different idea of Hinduism than the Bengali Bhadralok Hinduism. No doubt he brought in texts like Bhagavad Gita into it, Vedas, in a very subtle way. He never wrote anything on Vedas. So when he started using that I am a Hindu and this majority people's religion is Hindu, and but my Hinduism is inclusive, along with the notion of Ramarajya that he was using, that he was talking about tolerant Hinduism, which is totally different from Bankim Chandra Chatterjee's Hinduism. I don't think Raja Ram Mohan Rai anywhere included the tolerance idea vis-a-vis the Muslims and Muslim Christians. I have not known that. He was more concerned about the Brahmin women's sati problem, child marriage, I don't think that was a problem of Madras and Dalits even in Bengal region. So when this was happened from 1909 to 1915, when Gandhi began to become the major leader of Congress, to 1920, the Western Indian Brahmins were very angry with Gandhian mode of construction of Hinduism. Obviously, they were also unhappy with the Raja Ram Mohan kind of Hinduism, and differing with the broad idea of Hinduism that Gandhi and the Bengali, a section of Renaissance Brahmins were constructing, Savarkar wrote the book called Hindutva. Now, what is the difference between, let us say, Gandhian idea of Hinduism and, I don't know, Raja Ram Mohan Rai's idea has any debatable interface with this, but Gandhi was seen as an unnecessary intruder into the Brahminic domain. So all Maharashtra Brahmins, Gujarat Brahmins became very angry with him. Even Tilak was not happy with him, except Gopal Krishna Gokhale, who was somewhat happy, but so all of them were opposing, because Gandhi, along with this in the earlier phase, started talking about bringing Shudras and the Dalits into it. That is where he got in contact with Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who is a Patidari Shudra, who was England educated barrister. Maybe he must have met him there. So he started two things: bringing in the Shudra landlords and Shudra princely state leaders. There were 305 or so Shudra princely states, and was vaguely talking about temple entry to untouchables as a tolerant practice. Along with this, in order to see that the Muslims don't go out of his movement fold, tolerance of Muslims. But to my mind, the way Savarkar came out with his thesis of Hindutva, not only just politicizing it, but asserting the classical Brahmin complete authority and negation of Shudra Dalits in Hindu both political and spiritual agenda. And that is where till 1925, Hindu Mahasabha, which was negotiating between new trend of Gandhi's Hinduism, but they were very strong opponents of them. Savarkar was part of it, and Godse was also part of it, his brother was part of it. And the later school that was started by Hegdeva, he studied in Eastern India and came back and realized perhaps that there is something basically wrong with Raja Ram Mohan Roy kind of Hinduism, and he started a Brahmin-centered organization politically with a slogan that we must oppose Muslims basically, because by then the Shudras and Dalits were never rebelling against it. So till Ambedkar entered into the field, they were trying to maneuver with the anti-Gandhian Hindutva philosophical formation. So Hinduism as Gandhi defined is idol worshipping, vaguely related to Vedic. He was trying to talk about Ram as a ruler, but Bhagavad Gita as a text, which have nothing to do with each other. Bhagavad Gita is a Krishna's text, who was a Yadav and who ruled a Yaduvamsha state. So all this was against the Brahmin, strong Western Saraswata Brahmin self-control, control over the rest of the masses. So they became very anti-Gandhian Hinduism. So Hindutva began as an anti-broad national mobilizational Hinduism and Brahmin-centered. That is one of the reasons why they have never allowed a Banya also to head RSS till today. And there were several attempts on Gandhi's life much before 1948 final killing. And all of the attempts came from that camp. And he himself was speaking that he was prepared to die at any point of time. So Hindutva is a much more non-caste integrative ideology of Western Indian Brahmanism, which found some commonalities with Bankim Chandra's ideas. That is the reason why they owned Vande Mataram. But later they owned some aspects of Vivekananda from the Eastern Bengali region. Because Vivekananda was not popular in this part of the country at all. Later on it is RSS which tried to popularize him, put his statues and so on. So, if you carefully see Gandhi does not quote Vivekananda much. Anyway. And Gandhi does not quote Raja Ram Mohan Roy. So, the Hindutva is more centralized casteist nationalist view is only a facade with a collaborative agenda with the British. The Gandhian Hinduism was for freedom, there is no doubt about it. And that is the reason why Gandhi was trying to negotiate with Ambedkar. He was discussing with him at a time when no other Brahmin scholar was negotiating with him, nor Muslim upper caste Brahmin Muslim converts, Brahmin Banya Muslim converts like Jinnah, Iqbal, even Maulana Azad never engaged with him, nor. So the Muslim Brahmin Banya converts, the upper layer converts, were not engaging with Ambedkar because Ambedkar was only tall figure at that. Now, given in this, I don't know whether Professor Basu wants to ask a further question, but I link up. If you see the history of Shudras, those Sudras who wrote on Hinduism, starting with Mahatma Phule, never said that they were Hindus. Mahatma Phule nowhere he accepted that he was a Hindu. And in fact, is the first Gulamgiri, written in 1870, tears down the whole Dashavataras, the Vedic literature, the Mahabharata, Ramayana, and he owns up the Baliraja Sudra productive mass. And it was Phule who defines that Brahmins, Banyas have nothing to do with production in India. All the time they were only exploiters without involving in production. Shethji Bhattji. That was the first book. The second major book that came on Hinduism was written by a contemporary, a friend of Narayan Guru. His original name was Parameshwara Menon. He was an Nair and wrote a book called History of Hindu Imperialism. And that was a scathing critique of Hinduism, whatever form it is. Whether it is a Gandhian form, whether it is Raja Rammohn Roy form. So, there was no Shudra in my limited knowledge in the known English literature, whether translations or original writings, who has written a book accepting Hinduism as their religion, leave alone Dalits, except Shashi Tharoor in the recent past. Shashi Tharoor is a Nair, but he is a thoroughly Brahminized Nair who knows nothing about Indian production, Indian agriculture, Indian civilization from Harappan days. After all, Harappa, the name was a human name, because we in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh have a number of Appa names. So he's the leader who took the initiative to build the city, and having built villages, animal economy they built, surplus value they built, and they were Indo-Africans and Indo-Asian migrants mix up, not Aryans. So Shashi Tharoor doesn't know anything about this, and he called himself, I'm a Hindu. Why I am a Hindu? Neither Phule, nor Narayan Guru, nor Periyar, nor Swami Dharmatirtha, you can Google that book. And finally, in 20th century, I am a Shudra, I came from Shepherd background, a section of Yadava community from South. And my book, Why I am Not a Hindu. And then even the women, the Western Indian women started struggling, having come from even the Dvija families, started thinking that what do we have to do with Hinduism as such. And as a result is the recent book by this Vandana Sonalkar, Why I am Not a Hindu Woman. And so far no Bengali wrote such a book. And no Bengali Brahmin also critiqued whether communists or non-communists or socialists or whatever. They tried to be either indifferent to it or co-opted into the either Raja Rammohn Roy mode of Hinduism or the kind of writing that they did on Bankim Chandra till late 20th century. Absolutely only. EPW is full of Bankim Chandra by the left liberals of Bengal. And then Gandhi, of course, they own, but not as much as Tagore. And I have not come across a single Sudra or a Dalit writer coming out with their own books on Hinduism, because the Bengali Badrulok did not give them that exposure, allow them to come up. Whether they are communists or not communists, the Badrulok has completely suppressed the writing skills from Sanskrit days to Persian days to English days. I don't know how much writing in Bengal. I don't know, even in Bengal, there may not be a book, whether I am a Hindu or not, by a Shudra. Whether Sadgop or Maishya, which is a very big caste, nothing. So, the fundamental difference between Hinduism and Hindutva is not much, except the Brahmin-Banya clash. How to take the governance from the British into their hands and later on sustain the Brahminic hegemony subsequently. And luckily for us, Ambedkar intervened, and though I was surprised when I read Ambedkar, he says that though I was born in Hinduism as untouchable, which was not in my mind, but I will not die a Hindu, he said. But how could an untouchable be a Hindu? They are untouchables, they could not read. Even the Raja Ram Mohan Rai kind of ownership of Vedas or Upanishads or Ramayana, they were now a lot of Brahminic writers are claiming, seculars also, no, Upanishads are very liberal on caste. Where are they? So, Ambedkar did not spare any one of those texts, but yet they said, though I was a born Hindu, because you can't become a priest, you can't get trained in Gurukulas. And if Hinduism is a religion, differing even from Hindutva, which is a political, violent, openly and centralized organization and headed by Brahmin only, all writings came from Brahmin only, whether it's Hedgewar or Golwalkar, owning up Kautilya, Manu, even after Ambedkar burnt Manu Dharma. The Bengali Brahmins are silent about that, but they taught in their colleges only Manu and Kautilya as political thinkers, even in Bengal. They have not taught Buddha as a political. When I was doing my PhD and I came to read books in your National Library, I met Partha Chatterjee. He also thought that how could I define Gautam Buddha as political thinker? Because they never interpreted him as political thinker. So, but they were using Manu as political thinker, Kautilya as political thinker, whose text basically has a preamble that a Shudra, without given Kshatriyahood, cannot rule the state, and a Shudra cannot do business. A Shudra, if he crosses the caste border, the king should finish that. And even they cannot enter into the Swarga. That's what here and hereafter in heaven, the Shudra should live as Shudra only. That's Kautilya. So Bengali intellectuals never questioned that. And Bengali intellectuals never questioned Manuas. So far I have not seen a single critical book from Bengali so-called Renaissance intellectual, left intellectuals, even Maoist intellectuals, many of them are Brahmins. Nothing on a critical assessment of Kautilya and Manu. So But there is a difference. The difference is that the Western Indian Brahmins who started Hindutva did not even want Banyas to get and lead. Now, even now, in mainstream Hinduism, Banyas also cannot become priests in spite of Gandhi. Lohia also said, though he is a Marxist and socialist, we are Hindus, because he was a Banya. But there is no priesthood right to Banyas. There is no priesthood right to Kshatriyas. So there is no question of priesthood right to Shudras. We have been asking about Tirupati temple or any temple. So that is not a spiritually democratic religion to compare with spiritual democracies of other religions. Anybody who is part of the religion can read the book, interpret the Quran or Bible, more so Bible, and become pastors or become mullahs irrespective of this and that. They have strong controls on women, no doubt. Because Islam has a very strong anti-woman tendency when they say that a child-delivered woman cannot read 40 days, do namaz, cannot read Quran, and after menstruation for 7 days, she cannot. Very, very strong anti-woman. So, Hindutva and Hinduism are the two schools which fought on whether the control of religion, even the state, bureaucracy, temple system, by the neo-Bhadralok that was formed by Dvijas, the Brahmin, Banya, Kayastha, Khatri, and Kshatriya, or only Brahmins. So RSS still today feels only Brahmin should lead the religion. And against Muslims, they mobilize the Shudras and Muslims. That is the fundamental difference. But in the textual interpretation, textual reading, and temple practice, I don't know whether in Kali temple or the fact that Yashmani, that Sudra queen, when she built a big temple on Ganga river, and with about 140 acres, she could not even open it, and she had to write it off to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's brother, shows that they are not part of the religion. If they are part of, no way Christian or Muslim or Buddhist or Judaic will say that, of course, Israel, all Jews call themselves Judaic. That's a race, actually, it's not a caste. So that is the fundamental difference. And now, Modi, with an OBC certificate from a kind of Banya background, has punctured that Hindutva in politics, which they never wanted to allow a OBC to become Prime Minister or Sudra to become Prime Minister. But given the situation, they allowed him. And after Gandhi, this man from same Gujarat background is fighting an internal battle, no doubt. Because he got huge majority. Now there is after he inaugurated the Ram temple construction by breaking the ground, Brahmins are opposing him all over. Even in RSS, outside, in Congress, in everywhere, Brahmins are, how can he do it? That is not his domain. So we will see what happens to his position in the religion. To overcome that, he has taken up this Rajarushi posture by growing long beard and long hair and trying to communicate that I am like Vishwamitra, a Rajarishi from Prime Minister. But they are digesting it, we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, if you ask further question, I will elaborate on caste issue.
Yeah. I would like to know that during the British period, for a Dalit, for a Sudra, who was the greater enemy? The British imperialist power or the Brahminical regime?
No, for Shudras and Dalits, one most unfortunate thing was there were no English or all India language educated intellectuals among them. They were regional castes. They were not like Brahmins spread all over India. Because I don't know how many of you know this, till 1872 census, the British were thinking that the Brahmins were majority in Hinduism. They didn't know that Brahmins were just 4 to 5%. Because they were only interacting with Brahmins in whether it is Calcutta, whether it is Tamil Nadu, Madras, or Bombay, or in a district, anywhere, no Shudra was talking to a British collector in English or in Persian before, only Brahmins. So they thought Brahmins were majority non-Muslims, like the Jews. But after the caste census, they realized in the 72 census, Brahmins were 7% in Hindus. They called all of them Hindus. So at that time, there was no Dalit category as well. So even untouchables they considered as Hindus, because that was the Orientalist thing. And in 81 census, they found them to be, in the entire population including Muslims, they were 4.2%. Then they realized Brahmins are minority and they are looting people more than the British without soiling their hands, living around temples, getting best education in the country available historically. So the Shudras and Dalits, if only they were educated, if I were to be there at that time, I would have written a book that British are our friends and Brahmins are our enemies. And that is what Pule did. And that is what your Raja Ram Mohan Roy also did. He praised the British. He went to England and got progressive laws passed. So why would Shudra think, unless he is a fool, or a Dalit unless he is a fool, that a community which kept them for 3,000 years untouchable, 2,000 years untouchable, or a community, 52% people who kept them working in the fields like donkeys and never recognized them as equal in the religion, in the civil society, as friends. Definitely it is the Brahmin. And that's what Savitribai said, that was Pule said. And only, unfortunately in eastern India, in Bengal region or Orissa, where the caste consciousness organizational level among Shudras and Dalits is low, even now, they did not come out with. So now we are saying English should become our mother tongue now. Macaulay has done great, positive. It was William Carey and Macaulay who has given life to us now. Because of them we could Otherwise, we would have been completely illiterate. Even Pule would have been illiterate. Periyar would have been illiterate. Ramswamy Naikar would have been illiterate. So it is definitely Brahmanism.
You have been talking about this question of Hinduism, Hindutva, and Dalit, Sudra. In this total perspective side, how do you see the question of class, the economic exploitation, economic destitution, people's suffering? Just I am putting a question, what is a very common question in Bengal or maybe in North India.
Yeah.
Many educated people.
No, this is our latest book which we edited recently called The Shudra's Vision for a New Path. In this there is a chapter, last chapter, called Caste and Political Economy. And in this, we have given the class nature of this political economy. Now, all Shudra castes, including your Maishya and Jats, Gujars, Patels, Kammas, Reddys, Lingayat, Boklinga, Patels, all of them who are in the regional rulers, their share in the industrial capital is just 3.89%, all Shudras. And the Baniya share is 46%. The Brahmin share is 42%. So what is a class? And then what about the poverty levels? See, overall, poorest of the poor are 20.63% in India overall. STs are 51% poorest of the poor. SCs 28% poorest of the poor. OBCs 18.87. Brahmins are only 4.6%. Where is a Brahmin poor class? Brahmins are not poor class at all. And Rajputs, Kshatriyas, are worse than Brahmins, 7.2%. Banyas, they are very rich Banyas, Reliance, Ambani, Adani, Lakshmi Mittal, and so on in the Western India side. But in the villages, there are small shop owners. The poorest of the poor are 5.8% of their population. This is of their population. Kayastha is the lowest, 2.1. General FC, forward communities, if you put Jats, Gujars, Patels, who are not included from Shudras in the reservation, they constitute 9.7%. Now, there is no class outside the structure of caste in India. This is absolutely Brahmin understanding of Indian communists. They thought that there is a real class like European. And And they were saying that yes, there are a poor Brahmin, there is a poor Brahmin, there is a poor. So what is of the total Brahmin caste today, which may constitute roughly about 6 crores if it is 4%, even leaving out the migrant Brahmins in the high-end economy of the world. The poorest of the poor percentage is 4 of their population. Is it a class? And the rich constitute 42. And the whole temple economy is with theirs. And they don't till the land. How many Bengali Brahmins virtually till the land in the villages? Whether communists or not communists. As a peasant. If they don't till, how can they become part of the working class? Because agriculture, when the Naxalite movement defined Indian economy as semi-feudal and semi-colonial, a whole caste of Brahmins and Kayasthas and Vaidyas don't till the land at all. How are they part of the agrarian working mass? Are they living in China or what? No. Class is a misleading category because I was with that movement. I was with Nagari Group. We were misled. Huh?
Really?
Yeah, I was with Nagari Group till 86. And then till 85 I was with the civil liberties movement.
Tadimila Mani Reddy.
Yeah, Tadimila Mani Reddy, we were great admirers of him, and his book, India Mortgage, was our Bible. So, we found out the Sudra communists were fools. They were misled by the Brahmins, like Devapalli Venkateshwar, Charu Majumdar there, and all of them were Brahmins. Starting from P.C. Joshi, Dange, V.T. Ranadeve, and Jyoti Basu studied in London and came here, became part of the working class. This is all rubbish. So we realized by 1990 Mandal, oh my God, the entire Naxalite movement misled us. The entire CPI, CPM ideology misled us. And they started opposing Mandal reservation to OBCs. I was a lecturer in Osmania University fighting in favor of Mandal, and communist Brahmins were opposing. So where is the class here? What class analysis? See, did not the communist Brahmins see that Hindu temples are very important, they make a lot of money? There is a temple land all around, and except Brahmin, nobody had a right there. And that Brahmin does not till it. How do you define class? Do you define a supervisor or a paper owner of a land in the name of Agrahara, temple, or Brahmin family? Is Ramakrishna Paramahansa's family, which owned that 140 acres and Sudras were tilling it, were they agrarian peasant people? Ramakrishna Paramahansa and his brother? If the definition is Marxism, nonsense.
So do you think that it is possible in India to combine the two struggles, class struggle and Dalit struggle? These two can be combined, can be overlapping against a common enemy. Is it possible?
No, they can only when now India is not a feudal country. What we are saying in this book is that only when the Shudras emerge as capitalists and Brahmins, Baniyas, Kayasthas go down to till the land. See, at least a section of them should get into basically, see, this is a theoretical group which defined production as pollution, the Brahmins. And the Indian Communist movement did not challenge that theory. Emerson was constructing nonsensical theory, Sanskritization. When all the 90% Brahmins were getting anglicized, and he thought he wrote a book called Sanskritization, and then the whole Brahminical school carries that book. We were saying, you first get Shudraized. You have to go to the tilling part. You have to go to the harvesting issue. You have to go to the cattle raising issue. The Brahmin defined cow as sacred animal, but never they were cattle grazers. How can they construct a theory about cattle which they don't know how to graze? They never grazed cattle from Rigveda to now, even in this period of modern capitalism. So how does class theory apply here? So class struggle does not take place until caste struggle reaches a fundamental higher place. That is why communists completely failed. And why Modi succeeded? Modi has taken up the caste issue far more radically than anybody else. Congress did not speak, Nehru did not speak, Indira Gandhi did not speak, Rajiv Gandhi did not speak. They were suppressing OBC commissions, including Mandal. So VP Singh came, and Modi came and OBC wanted their own identifiable Prime Minister. The communists did not understand this. And do you think that communist parties will survive for a few more decades in India with this understanding? No. In my view, it's not possible. And
I just ask you one thing. I am very curious to know your valuable opinion about that. That Brahminical system is a system of acute oppression, acute domination, but it exists in India. But throughout the world, there is the domination and exploitation by global capital. So don't you think that global capitalism is a much more fierce enemy, more powerful enemy of all the oppressed people of the world?
No. Oppressed people of the world is true. China has proved that, and Russian experiment came to a certain extent, and the whole idea of Marx, workers of the world unite. But here are the Brahmins who remained anti-production for all their existence. Even now, my feeling is, though they studied in English and there may be some scientists, there may be some outside settled noble this and that. See, out of thousands of intellectuals, some can become something somewhere in the world. But so long as Brahmanism remains in the hegemonic place, productive forces in India do not get released. Because Brahmins, as a community, are there anti-production. They don't participate. They don't have a theory that every person's hands are meant to soil themselves and wash. So they are basically anti-production during Vedic period. See, India has a civilization of villages and urban, where we could make brick, we could use bronze tools, we could use crafted wood, we constructed canals and built 4 or 5 major cities 1500 years before Aryans arrived. Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Dholavira, they were far advanced than Mesopotamian and Chinese ancient cities. But after Aryans came, Indian economy shifted into pastoralism. And I have no historical proof from any writing. From 15 BC to the Buddhist period of Pataliputra, there was no city built. How can pastoral economy have cities? There is no surplus. The surplus that people generated during Harappa, Dholavira, Mohenjo-daro, the Indo-African, what we call Dravidian masses, were reduced into Sudra, and they were not allowed to read and write, and these people were not interacting with production. So the whole productive system got stifled, and then came Buddhist revolution, which inspired production. But then came counter-revolution of Kautilya, Manu, and what is this Kama Sutras of Vatsayana? It is the biggest anti-woman text. When Plato was writing Republic, Socrates was writing, Aristotle was writing Politics, here is a Brahmin who sits and writes about how to use 64 arts in sex. What is that knowledge? Sex is an animal knowledge also. Human being, because the Brahmins were not using their physical power. They needed an external stimuli of sexual stimulation. So this is the text. And this text is praised as if it is art, it is culture, it is whatnot. So there is, so long as the Brahmin mind is as it is, India cannot be compared with any other capitalist country. So this global capitalism, we are part of global, that's not true. So long as Brahmanism is there, you can't be in global capitalism. This is only theory. Again, they said imperialism, global capitalism. Lenin said imperialism is the highest phase of capitalism. Where are we? Still it's miscalculation. And we have not produced Sudra thinkers. Imagine, Professor Basu, out of 52% people, you have no dozen intellectuals who can write English today. In English. And all these visual intellectuals are sitting in New York or London or here or Australia. What is this subaltern studies? Why I am using the word subaltern, which is like using the word Dalit in Italian. That is what exactly the word means. The lowest rung of that is an Italian word. They brought it and dumped here. And whole academic discourse is about subaltern. Nobody understands that who it is. Is Gandhi subaltern, or Ambedkar subaltern, or a Chamar in the village subaltern? Who is subaltern? That is an Italian word. So you brought the concept of proletariat, which we can't understand. The bourgeoisie, we can't understand. Who is it? Is Reliance bourgeoisie or what is that? Why don't you tell the Banya account? Why don't you tell the Brahmin intellectuals? Why don't you tell the Dalit, the Sudra? We understand. Sudra and Dalits are equivalent to your Italian subalterns. You don't use that. Nobody uses. So therefore, there is a fundamental problem with the Brahmin mind, which stagnated our transformation and change. Now, luckily, Nehru was definitely a positive thinker. Having come from that background, he became rationalist, and he was not like Bankim Chandra or not even like Tagore. Therefore, there was some space opened up. But without Ambedkar, we would have been finished. And the entire Bengali intellectuals don't recognize him, even now. And they were the leading left intellectuals, even in Delhi. So, I don't agree that global capitalism. We are not. We are an independent nation. Yes, we own nationhood. Because from Harappa to now, it is our forefathers, foremothers who built this nation. Deforested lands, cultivated lands with Sudra, Dalit, Adivasis. And the Muslims have to realize what we have done. And Muslims never supported us. No, not a single Muslim scholar wrote a book on caste. What kind of intellectualism is that? So, we own the nation far more seriously than these Hindutva people own. We will not allow China to occupy. We will not allow Pakistan to occupy. And we are not also running after this minority majoritarianism. How is this Hinduism majoritarianism or Hindutva? What is the role of Sudras in that theory? They were only used as a muscle power against Muslims. In UP, Bihar, everywhere. But they are not thinkers who constructed. If they can't become Sarsanchalak of RSS, or they can't become Tirupati temple priest, or your biggest temples in Banaras anywhere, how are they part of majority? Only thing is our Shudras were not educated, so they have not studied Pule, Periyar, Ambedkar, and now our school of group is emerging. But I think after 20, 30 years, if India becomes English speaking, mainly the Shudra, Dalit, Adivasis, we want our children to learn English as the first language in regions also. That's how we force Andhra Pradesh and Telangana to introduce complete English medium in government schools. So after 20 years, we will definitely formulate a new idea for India.
Well, you gave emphasis on English education. I have read that. But just one thing, don't you think that the people, these downtrodden people, the so-called lower caste people who have been oppressed for thousands of years by Brahmanism, these people have their own mother tongues. And don't you think that as Brahmanism has imposed a lot of restrictions over the Dalit people, Shudra people, similarly, the British colonial power, they imposed English language over the native languages of India. And don't you think that native languages of India should be given enforcement, should be reinforced, should be supported more and more, should be given a social prestige? And English is a foreign language. English or Hindi should not be imposed upon the local native languages of the people.
No, you are right, Professor Basu. But tell me how the Bhadralok in Bengal, Brahmin Baniya, this Brahmins and Kayasthas and Vaidyas, gave up their Sanskrit and got educated almost 90% only in English. For them, what happened to their mother tongue Sanskrit? So when they don't have love for their Sanskrit, but they have love for their English medium in private, why should we should have, after all, Sanskrit was a national language. Adi Shankara, from a Brahmin from Tamil Nadu, could go and speak in Bengal with Bengali Brahmin in Sanskrit, in Kashmiri Brahmin with Sanskrit. But our Telugu is not a all India language. Or there are tribes which have small languages. Our theory now is, let these languages die, we don't care. We don't believe in this mother tongue sentiment. Our English can become our mother tongue within 2-3 generations. And we want to be part of the global language. See, there is a prophet in Israel who said, a day will come, God will make all world people to speak one language. And I have a feeling that language will be only English. When we celebrate 5th October as Indian English Day, we say that on an average Indian labor today, nook and corner of the villages, they know 250 to 300 English words. Water, food, petrol, ticket, salt, anything. So if you lift a villager, a tribal location person, and put him in Africa, with the help of these words in the market, they can live, even in Africa. But with Telugu or Bengali, they can't live. So any language that gives a knowledge with largest vocabulary base and with more people's connection has to be learned by giving up the small language groups. And the Brahmins told our people the same sentimental nonsense, that this is your mother tongue, Telugu is your mother tongue, some tribal language is your mother tongue. But they did not follow that principle. They have killed their Sanskrit, right? Who killed Sanskrit? We could not have killed because we were not allowed to learn in any Gurukul. So these Vijas have a very skillful definitions of language. The Dalit Sudra movement now is fully for English. You know what is happening in central universities now? After BJP came to power, even during Rajiv Gandhi period, they allowed private universities like Ashoka, Amethi, and they are in fully Western English. But they are asking, Narendra Modi was asking the central universities to teach in Hindi and mother tongue now. So that means when our students are entering through reservation into central universities, IITs, they should learn in Hindi and this thing. Their children will learn in Ashoka, Amethi, and then privatized English medium and go to America, England. They don't live here. 50, I think 20 to 30% of Bengali Bhadralok intellectuals are abroad. Why are they there? What nationalism is that? Why did they learn English there? Why should not Bengali Dalit? Why should not Bengali Sudra or Nam Sudra? This is the theory they gave us. So do they think that we don't understand now? In spite of Ambedkar, in spite of Pule and no, this is mother tongue sentiment is nonsense. Our children's mother will speak English only, like our mothers are speaking in the airports. The Bhadralok mothers are speaking only in English in the airports. Go to Calcutta airport. What are they speaking there? Are they speaking Bengali? That is only for political meetings, not for intellectual home meeting. Bengal Bhadralok intellectuals misled the Sudra Dalits across the country in a most mischievous manner. I must tell you honestly what I feel. They put sentiment on us, they put their Rabindranath Tagore on us, they put their, but they have not taken our Ambedkar, they have not taken our Pule, they have not taken our Periyar. Can you show one Ambedkar statue in rural Bengal before Dalits came? But how many Rabindranaths we had? Why should we have? Or Vivekanandas we had? Or Subhash Chandra Bose we had? Because you imported your intellectualism and your statues, your books, and we were made orphans. Why should we allow this?
Sir, I have lots of questions, but our time is limited. I enjoy. I am so curious to know lots of things because you are saying something very important, much valuable for all the country people. But I have to finish before I finish, I will ask you a recent problem regarding this caste-based census, the recent controversy. What is your view about that?
No, we are fully working and trying to organize the whole Sudra, Dalit, Adivasi forces. Because Dalits and Adivasis anyway have their caste census. So all Shudras across the country, we want caste census. And let Brahmins know how much they are now. Let each caste know how much they are there, what is their occupation route, what is their historical route. And ultimately, those caste census will give us the data. How many people are in each higher position in judiciary, in ambassadorial position, in universities, in colleges, and in what we call the nation institutions. Because the Shudras and Dalits, Shudras are the largest force which built this nation through labor, production, tilling of the soil, harvesting crops, and then grazing cattle and cattle economy, whatnot. So they don't exist anywhere. And for example, even the castes like Jats, Patels, Marathas, Kamas, Reddys, who are not in the reservation, they have not got anything in the open category also, in civil surveys. So what is this merit they are talking? If the Vijayas of India have merit, they should get into agriculture and prove it. They should get into economic building up at the ground level and prove it. What are they talking about merit in marks? So we are mobilizing the Shudras across the country and the regional parties for caste census. And once caste census comes, our intellectuals will launch a huge analytical campaign. Where are they? Where are they in capital? Where are they in the university? Where are they in the central government? Where are they in the regional governments? We will do that.
And my last question is, do you think that at this moment, this BJP, many people are calling it a fascist government, fascist force, it is a dangerous force for the Muslims as well as for Dalits, for women, minorities, for third gender, for Adivasis, since it is like Hitlerite force of Germany, the Nazi force or fascist force of Mussolini, Mussolini's Italy. Do you think that our resistance, our protests should be primarily spearheaded, directed against this fascist BJP government, and in this struggle, Dalit and Adivasi and Muslim, women and third gender, all oppressed sections of people should join and should be united. What is your view about this? That is my last question.
See, this is the book that 10 of us wrote this. The introduction, we made our agenda very clear. The present Hindutva force is being led by the Kautilyan and Manuvian Brahminic Vijaya forces. And there is no role of Shudras in their theory construction. And that is, of course, they are not there at all. So whether it is Gujar, Patel or top Shudras who helped them in the Ram Temple movement as a physical force, what we call muscle power force. So they brought them, the BJP, Modi, to power. What we are doing is, this definitions, that this is a fascist, without, but without telling that earlier Hinduism or the Brahmanism, the forces that operated in the name of left liberalism without even implementing reservations, is not democratic. So there is a narrow difference between the Hindutva Brahmanism and the left liberal Hindu Brahmanism. We understand. So therefore what we are saying is, if Hindu Rashtra is established through the ideological mechanism of RSS, Hindu Mahasabha, part of it, the position of the Shudras, including the higher Shudras, will be worse than Muslims. So we are not worried about Muslims now. We are worried about ourselves. Because Muslims at least have an international force. Muslims are a big, whether Shia or Sunni, whatever, they are there in 56 countries. But the Shudras are not there outside. The Shudras were oppressed, controlled, kept illiterate, and they were used as slaves. Even now, they were rendered as regional power. Even in Bengal, they are not till allowing a Shudra to become chief minister from 1947 till today. In Orissa, that is the situation. So the Shudras will fight Hindutva for their own sake more rigorously than what these left liberal intellectuals are talking. But we will not also spare them, because they have ditched our youth in the central universities, in higher education. They have never supported reservations. They went with the bogey of Hindutva meritocracy, the merit theory. And they brought foreign university degrees vis-a-vis the Indian university degrees or PhDs of our students, because our people cannot go to Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard and get degrees from there. It's not possible for us. So even the Shudra kings could not send their children there. So how do we do it? Therefore, we are thinking that our first fight is to withdraw the Shudra support to the Hindutva force. And that is where the farmers' movement is. The farmers' movement we are defining as Shudra movement. There are no Dvija farmers there. There are no Brahmins or there are no Kayastas, there are no Khatris farmers in UP also. So we are defining this as the Shudra movement. So Shudras will assert, and with that fear only, Narendra Modi included 27 Shudras in the cabinet. He understood it. Where are we targeting? And our agenda is more serious than the minority agenda. And the left liberal intellectuals don't speak about us. They have never used the word Shudra in their writing. Why? Shudra may be a slave earlier, but today Shudra is a productive force. Brahmin is an anti-productive. Hindutva is anti-national. Our definition is not that. It is not the question of fascism, racism. Hindutva is anti-national because it is headed by Brahmins who do not want to involve in production. There is no theory of production in Hindutva school. Nobody wrote economic theory, agriculture. Nobody. You read Golwalkar, there was nothing on agriculture, nothing on tilling the land. It is about Muslims and so-called Hindutva this and that. So we understand them. We are reading them more seriously than this left liberal intellectuals. And that's what Ambedkar did. See, from Damge to Jyoti Basu to Rambudripal to JNU or your Jalupur or Presidency Universities, left liberals did not analyze the negative role of whole Vedic literature, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Gita, and Kautilya and Manu. Ambedkar did that. Why did he do that? We want to seriously dissect Indian history from the days of Harappan civilization to present. Our ancient doesn't start with Vedas. So we have a longer history than the Brahmins in this country. And Periyar proved that, and we are very serious to withdraw Sudra forces from Hindutva. That will collapse their power if we succeed in that. Because our people are still illiterate, uneducated, there is no English intellectual force. And in the other day when they organized that dismantling global Hindutva, there are no Sudra intellectuals in that. Either they were Brahmin, Banya, Kayastas, or some Dalits they included. Where are the Sudras? So we will have to organize that. We will have to take Pule all over.
Well, one thing, the way you are giving emphasis on production, don't you think that has some labor on agricultural and industrial production? Marx always attacked the parasite bourgeois class and the parasite petty bourgeois intellectuals because they do not take part in production. Anyway, that is one point, and another thing is I am asking you, but there is no time actually. Our time is over. I just wanted to ask you, I am a Basu. My surname is Basu. I belong to Kayastha caste. I myself, I consider myself as strongly anti-Brahminical system. If I am given a choice, I will join the Dalit, I will join the Sudra. But is it possible for me, by birth I am a Kayastha? Do you think ideologically can I claim myself as a Dalit, as a Sudra? Since ideologically I hate Brahminical oppression, Brahminical system, caste system, I believe in the annihilation of caste. So can I claim myself as a Dalit, as a Sudra, politically, ideologically? Or I need to be a Dalit by birth?
No. See, from Mahatma Phule to now, the Shudra Dalit thinkers are very clear. After all, your birth is an accident. You have not chosen your parents. You have not chosen your caste, but you were born there. As Ambedkar said, though I was born an untouchable in Hinduism, but I don't want to die as a Hindu, you have a right to not to die as a Caste. You can come out. And as an intellectual, you have a freedom with us. You know, recently, 3 years back, there was a big Ambedkar conference in Bangalore, and 5 volumes were brought out, edited by one professor called Akash Singh Rathore. He is a Kshatriya, but he is considered to be a very powerful pro-Ambedkar scholar. So if you work on these issues and write about them, agitate along with them, fight for their causes, I would request all the Bengali Bhadralok intellectuals to force your government, regional government, which the left has deceived, to introduce English medium for all in the government schools with one Bengali subject, compulsory from kindergarten to 12. Then produce Sudra Dalit thinkers from that base, and then write about the Sudra consciousness in your region in English. You will definitely become part of us. But right now, nobody is doing that. So it is not just wish. It is a question of actually getting into the work. So we don't negate others coming in. Where is the question? See, your birth, you did not choose my birth, I did not choose. So when I, as a Sudra, wrote, Dalitization is the solution in why I'm not a Hindu. Dalits embraced me, Dalits owned me, Dalits several attempts on my life, they protected me, not the Shudras. So they are great, generous people in this country.
Okay, Professor Kancha Ilaiah Shepherd, I know why you added your name to your name, this term Shepherd. I know about your mother, Kancha Kadamma. She gave a bold, brave fight against the forest guards. I know about you a lot of things about your life. My deepest respect to you. I don't dare to give you a thanks. I just express my gratitude. Sometime in future, I would like to take, sometime in future, if the organizers agree, I would like to take your another interview, and I have lots of questions. I have to learn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Professor Basu. This is a great opportunity to speak.
Please don't say Basu, okay? Just like you are.
Pradip.
Pradip. You are Kancha Ilaiah. Similarly, I am Pradip Basu. Not Basu.
Pradip Basu, Okay, it is like Subhash Chandra Bose, right?
Yeah, Bose and Basu same. Basu same.
We know Jyoti Basu and Subhash Chandra Basu from caste background. Thank you very much.
Caste is considered as a Kshatriya caste in Bengal, not a Vaishya caste. But in Bihar, caste Lala is often considered as a Vaishya caste. So there are some local regional uniqueness. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot for you, all the listeners and participants. This is a great opportunity for me also. You gave. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Keep safe. Be safe. The country needs you for another 30 years.
I'm already 69. Thank you very much. Let us live as much. Thank you.